everybody, and welcome to another episode of Right Here, Right Now, live Buffalo football talk presented by Forefathers Organics. We got a sponsor on board, AJ. Excited to tell the people about Forefathers Organics. I'm your host, Alex Brasky, alongside my co-host, Ajay Cybulski, here for the Batavia Daily News and Livingston County News. Each week, we'll discuss Buffalo's favorite football team, along with all the comings and goings from Orchard Park. Thanks to our friends at Forefathers in Dansville. At Forefathers Organics, their mission is to liberate, educate, and innovate with the highest quality CBD and hemp-derived products for your mind, body, and soul so you can live happy and free. Visit them at 87 Franklin Street in Dansville, online at forefathersorganics.com, or call them at 585-335-2223 to learn more about the products they offer. I've tried Forefathers Organics products before. Sometimes I have trouble sleeping. This job can really get to you, increase the stress level. That CBD really helps take that edge off and really helps you fall asleep. It also can be used for pain and other things, but Forefathers Organics in Dansville, they can educate you much more than I can. But what's up, AJ? Tell the people what we have in store for them on the pod today.
Yeah, looking forward to another episode here of Right Here, Right Now, live Buffalo football talk. We'll be discussing some top training camp battles. We'll save the wide receiver talk for another day because obviously there's a lot to talk about there. We could probably have a whole episode on that. Our own favorite part of training camps, or what we like to do, what kind of the best parts are at training camp, and then finally some recommendations for those thinking of attending St. John Fisher in late July, early August. So full slate of stuff, and I'm excited to get into it.
Before we get into the football talk, AJ, your summer rec basketball league in full swing. A little bit of a hot and cold start for you individually. Give me your assessment of your performance so far. How's the team doing, and are you having a good time?
Yeah, first off, great time. It's a great league. I think playing sports, staying in shape, being active is important, obviously. Now, out of college, I think I want to just stay and play as long as I can, as long as my body allows. So, yeah, definitely a rough, shaky start for me. I've had some bright moments, but I had a 4 of 18 game, got my ankles broken. And in that same game, our team was up 14 with about 4.5 minutes left, and we blew the game, lost in overtime. So it was all in all just not a good showing. But the team itself for the Lakers, so I obviously like rocking the purple and gold, the Lake Show. We're 5-1, and it's been a great start. But yeah, getting your ankle snapped and shooting 4 of 18, I definitely heard it from my general manager, and that was definitely not fun. But always have to improve.
You know, long road to go though. I'm confident you can turn it around. You got the stroke, and you certainly got the effort. You're a high energy guy, glue guy at the very least. So I'm very confident that you'll be able to turn it around. We'll keep the people updated with your basketball exploits as we go on Right Here, Right Now. But let's dive in. We'll start with some of the top camp battles for the Bills this training camp. Training camp coming up on July 24th at St. John Fisher University. And we'll start at safety, AJ. It seems like the starting spots are locked up with Taylor Rapp and Mike Edwards. Rapp, his second season in this system. Edwards coming over, being signed as a free agent, played with the Chiefs last year. The question on everybody's mind really is, can Cole Bishop sneak into the mix? And as far as I see it right now, it doesn't seem to be a good chance of that happening. It seems like they're taking things relatively slow with Bishop during offseason activities. You heard Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott and even Bobby Babbitt just speak on how much there is to digest for a rookie at that position. So while I believe Bishop has a high ceiling, perhaps the highest ceiling of any of these three players, just with his pass rushing ability, his physicality, and really his just ability to improve as a young player, I see him perhaps being the best of the three in the long run for this defensive unit. But as I see it right now, I think we're going to have Taylor Rapp, Mike Edwards enter the season, maybe an outside chance of Bishop entering that conversation if Edwards is to continue to deal with some injury trouble, as we saw him deal with that shoulder injury during offseason activities. And then lastly here, the fourth safety is Damar Hamlin have a leg up in that race. It certainly seems so with his participation and really his achievement at offseason activities.
Yeah, I am definitely looking forward to that safety room. And I look at these contracts, and I always go back to this when I look at kind of when you don't really see much of these players like I have. I kind of just kind of base it off contracts to see how they really value these guys. Mike Edwards is getting a cap hit of $2.8 million this year on a 1 year deal. So they're not really committed to this guy long term. They don't think that he was that important. They're paying him under $3 million a year, which is very low in terms of safety. Safeties get a lot of money now in today's NFL, although the position's very unique. Then a Cole Bishop, who's a rookie, I know his cap number is still low, but 1.1 million, then 1.4 next year, and then 1.7 3 years from now, and then in his final contract up to 2 million. So I just look at this or safety room as I think Cole Bishop is starting by week 7. And maybe, we were talking about hot takes and bold predictions. Maybe that will be one of mine in a future show. But I really think Cole Bishop by mid-year is going to be a starting caliber player on this roster. He's had the experience at Utah. He's very, again, like you mentioned, diverse in where he can play. He can play on the line of scrimmage. He can play in the back half. Now, maybe that stagnates him if he can't really stick at a certain spot. But I think with what this Bills defense wants to do, the aggressiveness they want to play with, their pass rush will need help this year because I don't think they have a solidified guy. If you can bring Bishop up on the edge or play him really anywhere, line him up against a tight end, I just think his versatility combined with the contracts of Rapp and Edwards just make me feel like a guy of his caliber will be starting by midseason.
And then next up, we'll transition to, I think, maybe not the most exciting camp battle, but certainly one that's going to be followed closely this summer, and maybe the only true starting position up for grabs, the punter position with Sam Martin coming back and Jack Browning being signed as I believe an undrafted free agent, or did they draft him, AJ?
Undrafted free agent. Jack Browning was not drafted.
Yeah, undrafted free agent for Browning. You saw during offseason activities all the talk about Browning holding compared to Martin. You had the one day where Tyler Bass went 7 for 7 with Jack Browning holding. Another day really struggled with Sam Martin holding. So I think that's really going to be a big topic of conversation. Which one of these players can fit in nicely with Tyler Bass and really work that operation as smoothly as the Bills want it to go. But if you look at it from a stats perspective, I think Browning, the Bills want Browning to win this job, I think, out of training camp. Sam Martin, up and down last year, came on at the end of the season. But you look at Browning's stats from San Diego State. I believe he's the top punter in program history in terms of punt average, 45.8. Sam Martin's highest for his career, 44.2. He's been around 41, 39 yards on average the last 2 years. Browning also has a leg in other regard. He was a 3-style kicker for San Diego State. He punted, he kicked off, he kicked field goals, drained a 61-yard field goal for the Aztecs. Accuracy and consistency is a problem for him, but certainly has the big leg that Matt Araiza had that the Bills drafted a few years ago. So this will be a camp battle to watch for sure. The Puntapalooza, as it's been coined by the Athletics' Joe Buscaglia. A lot of it coming down to the holding with Tyler Bass, but also I think Browning has a chance to present the Bills with a really good leg punting the ball as well.
Yeah, Sam Martin, I think I agree with your sentiment that the Bills, maybe not want Browning to win the job, but I think they have an idea that Browning has every capability of winning this job. I just think Martin has been an average punter. Like, I don't think he's been awful. I think there's been some moments where he's had some mess ups, and I guess every punter has those mishaps here and there. But the biggest thing for me is the holding, what Tyler Bass is comfortable with. The Bills, they left too many points on the board last year, maybe just in terms of turnovers in the red zone or missing field goals. And I just think that the importance of having a punter that can hold the ball combined with a guy that's consistent. If Browning can be a consistent guy, he can hang it up there for 4 or 5 seconds in the air, average about 45, 50 yards a punt, and can hold the ball for Tyler Bass and help him try and instill some confidence in a guy that probably lost some and is trying to reinstore that part of his game is the confidence level. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that battle, the Puntapalooza, like you said, Joe B. So yeah, that's going to be a interesting battle. But I think Sam Martin again needs to show something that he hasn't yet, and I'm just not quite sure that that's possible. But again, they like Martin. He's been here for a couple years now, I believe. So I think there's still a chance he can make this team.
Yeah, and the Bills brought in Matt Hawk during the offseason, I think kind of as a holding whisperer for Jack Browning to spread his knowledge to the youngster in hopes of kind of establishing what Hawk had with Bass a few years ago. I think that was when Bass had his really good season, was when Hawk was holding his football. So we'll see what happens with the punting battle. It's certainly not the most exciting battle to watch, but one worth watching. Another battle worth watching, the battle for the backup running back spot. There's been a lot of talk about James Cook during offseason activities, dropping passes, an issue that he encountered during the 2023 season. But behind James Cook, there is a battle, I think, for that number 2 role. You have Ty Johnson coming back, signing that 1-year deal this offseason. Then the Bills went out and drafted a Ray Davis. Both he and Davis banged up during offseason activities, so didn't get to see as much of them as we would have liked. But when you look at this battle between Davis and Johnson, I think Davis presents the higher ceiling and just a wider skill set at the position. But also with the youth, I think there's a lot left to be established there for him and a lot left to be seen. You've seen what Johnson has to offer, a speedy back, a guy who can certainly get out in space and create big yardage, but not much in terms of short yardage ability, and hasn't really shown elite pass catching ability throughout his career either, something that Ray Davis has really exhibited throughout his college career. I think 7 touchdown receptions last year for Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken. So with that short yardage and power ability that Davis has and his pass catching ability, I think he has a leg up to be second line in terms of touches in this running back room.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you don't select a guy in the 4th round when you have, and again, I think they know what they have with Ty Johnson. I think he's dependable. I think they trust him. So I think that's why you go and grab a 4th round pick, Ray Davis from Kentucky, and again, a guy that's had a lot of success in college, can pass or can catch the ball, run the ball, can really do everything you want as a running back too. And I think that he's going to fit right in there. Now, with that said, I think the downside of it is I think Ty Johnson has shown some ability to be productive and very efficient in this league, especially last year in his limited touches with the Bills. I think he's shown some prowess. Is that Johnson's stats right there?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're not listening on audio, Alex pulled up the Ty Johnson stats, looking at his stuff, and so some of his receiving numbers are decent. A couple of good years rushing, but nothing that really stands out. Kind of just been like a 250 kind of yard guy throughout his career on the ground.
And when I looked at these stats today, 30 carries for 132 yards last year for the Bills. Didn't it seem like he did more than that?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Limited. I mean, what is that? 30 yards. That's about
4.4 yards per carry.
Right.
But it seemed like he accumulated more rushing yards in that last year. I thought he made more of an impact. But 30 carries, 132 yards, really not as much of an impact as I thought looking back on it in my brain this offseason.
Yeah. So again, they have Ty Johnson. I think they know what he is at this point. So the downside of it is you put Ray Davis in there and he's not ready. And then you're really screwed because then you just have Ty Johnson. And then what are you going to do after that if Ray Davis can't fit? But I think Ray Davis is going to fit. I think he's done it in multiple colleges. So that's probably a conversation I shouldn't even have brought up. But there is the downside of the potential of maybe not allowing Ty Johnson to show some of his game and get more opportunity. But again, if Ray Davis can just go right into it and be that running back too, and the guy they need to complement James Cook, and maybe take some snaps away from James Cook if he continues those drop issues, I think there's something to be seen there.
And you look at Ray Davis, I mean, just the stats, I know it's college compared to the pros, and the opportunity he was presented compared to the opportunity Ty Johnson has seen in the pros. It's really apples and oranges, but just the touchdown making ability, 21 total touchdowns last year. It's, like I said, 7 receiving touchdowns, and just look at the receptions the last 2 years. If you can get Ray Davis at about 15, 20 catches this year as a secondary back, I think that could lead to some solid production for the Bills rookie. But moving on, maybe not another of the non-sexy camp battles, the battle for swing tackle, AJ. A lot of swing tackle talk during training camp each year. And Bills are set, obviously, with their bookend tackles, Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown. Spencer Brown, his future, I think, has yet to be determined. We'll kind of see that shake out over the next several months, I'm sure. But beyond those two, it's kind of a question mark. Ryan Vandermark, Alec Anderson really came along in the system under Aaron Kromer last year, seemed to progress really well. You bring in veterans Will Clapp and Lale Collins, both of whom have gotten blown past throughout the offseason activities. Clapp missed some of minicamp, but Lale Collins has been picked on by a few Bills pass rushers during OTAs and the mini camp. Obviously, no pads on, so tough to truly rate these guys and don't really have that ability to show their physicality. So you have to kind of reserve judgment there. But there's not a lot of great options, I don't think, behind Dawkins and Brown. It's kind of going to have to work itself out, like I said, during training camp this year. I think you'd like to go with the homegrown guys and Ryan Vandermark and Alec Anderson, guys who you've kind of seen the past couple of years, but you got to be prepared there. Spencer Brown has had some injury trouble. Dawkins has played 95% of the snaps or more in each season besides his rookie year, so not much concern on the left side. But if Spencer Brown's to go down, this offensive line was such a strength last year, you have to be able to plug in an adequate piece there that's going to be able to protect Josh Allen.
Yeah, Tommy Doyle was, I think, very good at what he was asked to do as a swing tackle. And again, I think this is a position where we're talking about a guy that's going to be on the field, like in total from game 1 to game 17, about 10, maybe not even 10% of the time. So if I look at that,
if all goes well,
correct. So if I look at that roster, I mean, Ryan Vandermark, Lyle Collins, those two names are probably the front runners for me. I probably put a good bet that it's one of those two guys. Ryan Vandermark from Connecticut, undrafted, really worked hard last year and really got himself on this roster and stayed around long enough to, be a part of it. And that's really important and key for a guy like that who's really trying to pave his path on your NFL roster. On the flip side, Lyle Collins coming off a very serious injury, and super tough. Jonathan Acosta from WGRZ did a nice feature on him and sat down with Collins and discussed kind of what he has been through throughout his career and what's to come. So I'm looking forward to the swing battle competition. But again, I think this is a position where I don't think you see an Alec Anderson or a Cedric Van Pran Granger be a swing tackle, because Alec Anderson's more in tune with as a guard or a center, and Cedric Van Pran Granger has played center his whole college career. So there's not much really room for any growth there for a swing tackle position. But I think that Collins and Vandermark are the two guys that I would put a good bet on that one of those two come away with the swing tackle position.
Yeah, good shout out to my guy Jonathan. Does a great job over there at WGRZ. There's a lot of Johns over there though, and they're all named John with no H, which is kind of troubling for me. I mentioned that to them before. But yeah, good stuff from Jonathan. Be sure to check out that interview.
How do you feel about AJ with AJAY? Does that bother you? Not A.J.
Don't even get me started on that. We could do a whole episode on that. No, I like it. Listen, my name's Alex. It's not fully Alexander, so I guess it's not as unique as an AJ, but a lot of people like to call me Alexander, and I have to remind them, nope, just Alex. But another camp battle that we're looking at, and like I said, a lot of the starting positions locked up. So at depth linebacker, it remains uncertain when we'll see Matt Milano return to the game field. He's already returned to the practice field in limited fashion, participating in individual drills, has not participated during team drills. We'll see if he ramps it up during training camp. The past 2 years, we've been waiting on Von Miller last year, Tre'Davious White the year before to get involved during training camp, and that's really never come to pass. So we'll see if that changes with Milano this year. If he's not able to start the season on the field, it's going to be interesting to see what the Bills do at that position. You have Deion Jones, who's been in the mix early during mini camp due to some injuries at the linebacker position. You see Nicholas Moreau, Dorian Williams, Balin Spector, a bunch of linebackers spent some time on the sideline. Jones is a former Pro Bowler, hasn't been on the field much the past 2 seasons. The other veteran in the mix, Moreau, he has played a lot of football the last 2 seasons, played 100% of the Bears snaps in 2022, recorded over 100 tackles, 85% of the Eagles snaps last year, 95 tackles. So he's been kind of more battle-tested in recent seasons than Deion Jones. Deion Jones may be a more impressive track record early in his career. It's kind of been a long road for Jones. But if you go to the veteran route to fill in for potential time miss from Milano, I think you go Moreau just due to the recent experience and plugging him in. And I think that would be more seamless transition. If you go the rookie route, I think Dorian Williams is the play. Balin Spector just has not been able to stay on the field. Williams dealing with a little injury here during the offseason activities, but I liked what I saw from Williams in short spurts last year. It seemed like his head was spinning at times, like he had to get the playbook and his responsibilities down pat, but with a full offseason behind him now and that rookie season behind him as well, I think this could be setting himself up for much more impact on this Bills defense.
Yeah, the linebacker carousel last year. I remember beginning of training camp, first week, they start Bernard first day. Then I think he went down with an injury, maybe somewhere in there. Dodson gets the second day. Then Spector got the third day. And I remember reading, like, many people on the beat and covering there at training camp were very fond of what Spector did on that first day. So I'm like, okay, maybe Spector can really push for this spot. He worked with the ones. I remember post-practice, a couple of players were speaking highly of Spector and really giving good insight and saying that he was leading the huddle, which is very important for a middle linebacker. And then it goes Bernard or whoever it was, and then Dodson again, and then it was Spector's day to start a middle linebacker, and then that never came. So Spector, like you mentioned, I think with injuries and just lack of opportunity, I think that's really an avenue where I don't know how much longer he's going to be around. He's going to have, I think, a tougher road, especially like you mentioned with the veteran additions of Jones and Moreau. And back to Moreau. Moreau is funny because he, like, when you look at guys in the Bills sign him, and I'm like, oh, this guy has over 100 tackles. Like, just 2 years ago, like over 100 tackles. This guy's got to be good. And then I do some more digging, and then I, read up, see Twitter's reaction, and a couple of, you go to like the former team, like the Bears, or read like the Eagles fans, what they have to say, and like, thank God this guy's done. But he had 85 tackles, but that just shows you that the tackles really do not mean much. They do to an extent, but you got to look at like average depth of tackle. There's a lot of analytics to really like hone in on the tackling part of linebackers. But yeah, this depth chart is unique. I think Dorian Williams is a great opportunity to really take a step. If I'm asked what linebacker really takes a leap out of this group, I think Bernard really took his leap last year. Matt Milano is what he is at this point. And I think Dorian Williams is primed if given the opportunity, whether it be injury or they try to do some more 3 linebacker looks. If you're going against a team that runs the ball more and you feel like your defensive line has had trouble stopping the run, whatever the case may be, I think Dorian Williams is primed to really elevate his game this year and get more of an opportunity if given it by Sean McDermott and Bobby Babbage.
Yeah, these are the stats for Moreau, by the way, on the screen. But yeah, it's certainly going to be a position to follow on the defensive side of the ball, and it's really going to all depend on when Matt Milano comes back. And if you have Milano and Bernard clicking on all cylinders, I'm not sure you're going to have to hear much from any of these guys, and I think that's the Bills' hope entering the season. Finally, the last camp battle that we'll discuss, the interior defensive line, Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones set as starters, but the depth roles need to be solidified. Rookie Dwayne Carter, and then veterans Austin Johnson, Deshaun Williams, and Eli Anku. Anku's been with the Bills since 2021, so very familiar with the system, but hasn't been able to find his way onto the roster consistently. Departed for Atlanta, I believe, last year before returning to Buffalo. In terms of Carter, good pass rushing ability in comparison to the 2 veterans, Williams and Johnson, more of run stoppers, so kind of a converse dynamic there. Depends on what you're looking for. I think if you're looking for a run stuffer in a particular game, maybe you see Austin Johnson and Deshaun Williams get a little bit more play. If you're looking for that pass rushing specialist or someone to get after an opposing passer, you look for for Carter to perform a little bit more. So maybe what you're looking at here is kind of a platoon situation, as they always do along the defensive line, or rotate in and out, but maybe game plan specific with Carter, Williams, and Johnson from game to game.
Yeah, they just need someone other than Jones and Oliver to really step up. And I think they've been looking for that for the last few years. It's never felt like a guy's really solidified the depth there. Dwayne Carter, I think, has a great opportunity coming from Duke. Good leadership there, really good player, highly touted coming out as a Duke Blue Devil. And I think obviously the Bills liked him, took him in the third round. And that was important for them to build that depth up. Austin Johnson, Deshaun Williams. Don't know too much. I know Austin Johnson's had some success with the Chargers, and Deshaun Williams was a Carolina Panther. So that Carolina Panther, stealing from the Panthers continues, that kind of back and forth Bills Panthers kind of regime with McDermott and Bean coming over. It's still going on, and it's now been about 7-8 years. So it's still funny that you still see these Panthers sign. Maybe just coincidence at this point. But yeah, I like this defensive line. But I don't love it, and I need to see it. For me to love it, I think one of those depth guys, either a Johnson, Carter, or Williams, need to step up, and when they do get opportunities, make plays and make splash plays. Splash plays I get are hard from the defensive line, but getting a hand up in the air, batting a ball, forcing an interception, something as simple as that, just to get some juice and not put everything on Oliver and Jones, because they're already going to have a lot on their plate already.
All right, we'll have plenty of more time to talk about these ongoing camp battles as training camp approaches, about a month away now. So a few more podcasts that we'll have to go over these guys in fine detail. But why don't we talk about our favorite parts of training camp? I'll just start with mine right off the get-go. Being able to be out there, beautiful weather in Rochester. My favorite part, a bit superficial, but I get a great tan during training camp, AJ. It's a bit of a farmer's tan. You have to wear the professional garb and the socks and sneakers, and sometimes you can mix in some sandals maybe, but boy, I look like George Hamilton after those few weeks of training camp.
Yeah, I just love like the aspect of going to, and I'm not saying that Rochester or St. John Fisher is like random. Like obviously, many around the area know what it is.
Well, random for you coming from the opposite side of Western New York.
Yeah, so just going there, and I think realizing like just the dedication from the fans, and seeing that place just sold out every single day, with all these fans and all the kids getting the autographs, and just the whole experience. I think for me is just pretty surreal, and I think that it's awesome that they can go to some random college in Rochester, an hour and a half away from the Buffalo area, and just fill the seats, and you see Bills fans just coming crazy numbers, and they're sold out every time. So I think that's what really makes me happy and enjoy the time at St. John Fisher.
Yeah, another part of training camp that I love before we get out of here is I love seeing Rochester get its due. I'm a Western New York, and my version of Western New York is Rochester to Buffalo. It's all encompassing. I know Buffalo people are really protective of that descriptor there, but Western New York, Rochester, Batavia, Buffalo. Being a Batavia guy, I've spent plenty of time both Rochester and Buffalo, and Rochester doesn't often get its due. There are some shady spots in Rochester. Don't get me wrong. You got to be careful sometimes where you're traveling. You don't want to get lost in the wrong spot on a Friday, Saturday night. But there's as many great areas around the city and the surrounding area. If you're attending camp, head over to Park Ave, Vern's to be specific, tomato pie, a couple of cocktails. That'll be a great night out. Top-notch garbage plate. Got to go to Dogtown. The burgers are better than anywhere that you'll get a garbage plate. Sides are top tier. Meat sauce, elite. Great vegan desserts as well. And people are always happy when you go into Dogtown. The people behind the counter always serve you with a smile. And for a night out on the town, for me, head over to Salinger's, early 2000s music. Solid small town vibe. Maybe a bit of a younger crowd, but a good spot to be. You've been to training camp. Where do you go when you go out there?
I went to Brockport too, so I don't.
Right.
The thing was I never went. Like if I was at Brockport and I was going out, I would just go to there was 3 bars in Brockport that we would go to, and that was kind of it. Never really made my way to Rochester. I'd only go out to Rochester if because Brockport didn't have like a Chipotle or Five Guys. So like if I wanted to go, I go over to like Greece and get some Five Guys or Chipotle. But Yeah, I'm a big Dogtown guy. When I worked with the Amerks there in the Amerks store, doing some merch during my time in school, my manager was like, "Dude, you got to try Dogtown. Like, it's great." So I went there, and I've been there, a few times since, and I really do enjoy it. So I'd say Dogtown, and then the new Barbell location also was really neat to go. Always be going to the East Aurora location, and I love it there, but it's very confined and tight. And then going to the Rochester one, and you're very nice and free, and a lot of space to chow down some of the best wings, the best wings in Buffalo. I'm not gonna shiver to the crowd. Those wings, but Maniac did put those wings. They did look pretty tough, but I still have never had a bad experience there. So those are definitely the two spots: Dogtown and Barbell for me.
Yeah, and Pittsford Dairy gets a lot of pub for their ice cream. You also have to try Abbott's custard. It's delicious in Rochester. But AJ,
I
that's
do
gonna
like
do it.
Abbott's. I do like Abbott's.
Yeah, so good. It's I can
Yeah,
taste it right now.
peanut butter sundae down the hatch.
Oh yeah, very quick. All right, AJ, quick episode today. That's going to do it. What did we forget? Anything you want to add, and tell the people where they can find the pod?
Yeah, right here, right now, live Buffalo football talk with myself and Alex. Find it on all audio platforms, probably the most popular: Apple, Spotify. Please like, share, subscribe, rate, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Batavia Daily News. We greatly appreciate it, and we're going to continue to churn out these episodes, and then we'll really get into the good content stuff where we're doing as much as we can for Bill's training camp and bringing as much from not Orchard Park, St. John Fisher as we can, and then eventually Orchard Park. So looking forward to a fun training camp and a fun 2024 Bills season.
Once again, we'd like to thank our friends at Forefathers Organics. Their mission is to liberate, educate, and innovate with the highest quality CBD and hemp-derived products for your mind, body, and soul so you can live happy and free. Visit them at 87 Franklin Street in Dansville, online at forefathersorganics.com, or call them at 585-335-2223 to learn more about the products they offer. That's going to do it. We'll see you next time.
Peace out.